They forced her into marriage, calling her the defective daughter, the one with broken blood, the one worth less than the debt she carried like chains around her throat. But when the cathedral doors exploded open, when the vampire king strode through storm and shadow with eyes that burned like silver fire, he spoke three words that shattered everything. She is mine. And Lyra Ashwood, 28 years old, waitress servant, the girl they said would never be enough, learned
My
the
love,
truth.
standing here, I
Her blood
promise to
wasn't
cherish
broken.
you forever.
It was
And I
priceless,
promise to love and
worth
honor
$50
you
billion,
always.
worth kingdoms, worth the eternity that came next. In 72 hours, she would transform from invisible to immortal, from nothing to queen. This is how it happened. The rain started at dawn on her wedding day. Lyra stood at the window of the bridal suite, watching water streak down glass like tears the sky was crying on her behalf. Her wedding dress hung behind her, white lace and silk, beautiful and suffocating as a shroud. Someone else had chosen it. Someone else had paid for it. Someone else's dream. Not hers. Never hers. You're not even dressed yet. The door slammed open. Morgause Ashwood swept in, all sharp edges and sharper words. Her stepmother. The woman who had married Lyra's father for his money, then watched him die and taken everything that remained. The ceremony starts in 2 hours. Do you know how much this wedding costs? How much Thorn is paying to take you off my hands? Lyra didn't turn from the window. Couldn't. If she looked at Morgause, she would see the contempt, the calculation, the cold assessment that had weighed Lyra's worth and found it wanting. I'm aware. Then act like it. Put on the dress, fix your face, try to look like you're worth the trouble. The door slammed again. Silence rushed back in, thick and heavy. Lyra closed her eyes. 3 years ago, she had stood at a different window, an art gallery downtown. Late autumn, the kind of evening where the air tastes like smoke and possibility. She had been looking at a painting. Moonlight through forest branches, silver and shadow and something that ached. She felt him before she saw him. The air changed. Electricity prickled across her skin. Her heart kicked once hard against her ribs. It's beautiful, a voice said behind her, deep, velvet and midnight. But it doesn't do justice to the real thing. Lyra turned. He was the most beautiful creature she had ever seen. Tall, lean muscle wrapped in dark clothing that probably cost more than her rent. Hair like winter moonlight, silver white falling past his shoulders. Skin pale as marble. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Gray like storm clouds, like steel. Like something ancient and dangerous and utterly devastatingly alive. You've seen it, she managed. Real moonlight through a forest. His smile was slow, careful, like he was testing whether she could handle it. I've walked through forests under moons you couldn't imagine. Seen things that would break your world if you knew they existed. He shouldn't have said that. It was strange, too intense for a gallery opening, too much for a first conversation with a stranger. But Lyra didn't step back. She stepped closer. Tell me. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, heat, recognition. Alaric, he said, extending his hand. Alaric Nightshade. Lyra Ashwood. When their fingers touched, the world tilted, just slightly, just enough to change everything. They talked for 3 hours. About art, about beauty, about the weight of time and the spaces between moments. He spoke like someone who had lived centuries. She listened like someone starving for anything real in a life that felt increasingly hollow. When the gallery closed, he walked her home through streets slick with rain. Can I see you again? He asked at her door. Tomorrow, Lyra said. Too fast, too eager, not caring. His smile was genuine this time, unguarded. Tomorrow. Tomorrow became 6 months. 6 months of falling so hard and fast she forgot what solid ground felt like. 6 months of feeling seen, cherished, real. Alaric looked at her like she was the only true thing in a world of shadows. Touched her like she was made of starlight and prayer. Spoke to her like her thoughts mattered. Her words had weight. He never lied, never pretended to be normal. There was always something otherworldly about him. The way he moved too smoothly. The way his skin stayed cool even in summer heat. The way he talked about history like he'd been there. I'm not what you think I am, he said one night, 3 months in. They were in his apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Expensive everything. Dangerous everything. What are you, Lyra asked. Something old, something that shouldn't want what I want, shouldn't feel what I feel. Which is you. He kissed her then, desperate, reverent, like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Lyra kissed him back with everything she had. That night she saw his fangs for the first time. Brief, sharp, inhuman. She should have run. She stayed. Vampire, she whispered. Yes. How old? 340 years. Lyra laughed. It bubbled up, hysterical and wild. 340 years. He had walked through centuries, seen empires rise and fall, and somehow impossibly he wanted her. Waitress. Broke. Nobody. Her. I should be terrified, she said. Are you? She looked at him. Really looked. Past the fangs, past the immortality, past everything that should scare her. She saw loneliness, centuries of it. She saw hope, fragile and new. She saw love real and raw and devastating. No, that was the beginning. The next 3 months were the happiest of her life. Alaric introduced her to his world slowly. The politics, the hierarchy, the careful balance between vampires and humans. He showed her beauty most people never dreamed existed. Art collections spanning centuries. Music performed by those who had lived through the eras that created it. He also showed her the darkness, the violence, the hunger, the cost of immortality. I don't want to hide what I am from you, he said. You deserve truth, all of it. So she learned. She watched him feed careful and controlled from willing donors who understood the exchange. She saw him move through the vampire court king in all but name commanding respect, through presence alone. She witnessed the ruthlessness required to maintain power, the swift brutality toward those who threatened innocence. And through it all, she loved him more. Because with her, he was gentle, patient, vulnerable in ways he showed no one else. In 3 centuries, I've never felt this, he told her one night. Rain drummed against windows. They were tangled together in his bed, her warmth against his cool skin. I thought I understood love. I was wrong. This is love. You are love. And I don't know how I walked through 300 years without you. Then don't walk away, Lyra whispered. Never. But he did. One morning, 6 months to the day after they met, Lyra woke alone. No note, no goodbye, no explanation. Just absence so complete it felt like death. She searched for him, called, went to his apartment to find it empty, cleaned out like he'd never existed. Asked everyone who might know. No one had answers, or if they did, they weren't sharing. Alaric Nightshade had vanished like smoke, like a dream, like he'd never been real at all. Lyra shattered. For weeks she barely functioned. Went to work, smiled when required, died inside a little more each day. Her father's death came 3 months later. Heart attack. Sudden. He left debts. So many debts, the kind that swallowed futures whole. Morgause, his widow, inherited nothing but obligations. And Lyra. You'll earn your keep, Morgause said cold and final, or you'll leave. Lyra had nowhere to go, so she stayed, became invisible, a servant in the house where she'd grown up, cleaning, cooking, enduring Ondine's casual cruelty, Morgause's calculating stares, trying not to think about silver eyes and moonlight hair and a love that felt like forever, until it became nothing at all. The debts grew. Morgause made bad investments. Ondine spent like money was infinite. The walls closed in. Then came Thorne Galveston. Businessman, wealthy, handsome in a conventional, forgettable way. A friend of Morgause's. He noticed Lyra the way someone notices furniture. Useful. There. She'll do, he said, discussing Lyra's marriageability over dinner while she served the wine. I need a wife. You need money. We can help each other. She's young, Morgause said. Healthy. Good breeding potential despite the deficiencies. Lyra's hand trembled. Wine sloshed. No one noticed. They were selling her. Like livestock. Like property. There's a condition, Thorne continued. I need an heir. My fiancée Ondine can't conceive. Medical issue. But if Lyra acts as surrogate, carries a child for us, I'll pay off all your debts. Set you up comfortably. Silence. Then Morgause smiled. Deal. No one asked Lyra. No one cared. She was presented with papers 3 days later. Marriage contract, surrogacy agreement, legal documents that bound her body, her future, her choice. Sign, Morgause ordered. I don't want this. What you want is irrelevant. Sign or I'll throw you out with nothing. No references, no money. You'll starve on the streets. Is that what you want? Lyra looked at the papers, at the life being mapped out for her, wife to a man she didn't love, incubator for her stepsister's child, invisible, owned, dead in every way that mattered, and she signed, because she had nowhere to go, no one to turn to, because the man she loved had abandoned her without explanation, and she was too broken to fight anymore. The wedding was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Now standing in the bridal suite, rain crying down the windows, Lyra felt nothing. Numbness was safer than feeling hurt too much. She turned from the window, put on the dress, let them do her makeup, hair, transform her into a beautiful empty vessel for someone else's plans. The cathedral was old stone and stained glass, Gothic architecture reaching toward heaven like it could touch something divine. Flowers everywhere, white roses, lilies. The scent was overwhelming, suffocating. Guests filled the pews. Morgause's social circle, Thorne's business associates, people who knew nothing about Lyra and cared less. Ondine stood near the altar in a blue dress, smiling like she'd won something. She had. Lyra walked down the aisle alone. No father to give her away, no one who cared enough to stand beside her. Just her and the prison she was walking into one step at a time. Thorne waited at the altar, smiling, confident, already counting the returns on his investment. The priest began, words about love and commitment and sacred bonds. Lies, lies. If anyone has objections to this union, the priest intoned, speak now or forever hold your peace. Standard language. Empty ritual. No one ever objected. This was just formality before the cathedral doors exploded open. Not metaphorically, actually exploded. Wood splintered, hinges shrieked. The boom echoed through the vaulted space like thunder trapped in stone. Every head turned. Lyra's heart stopped. He stood in the doorway, backlit by gray stormlight, rain whipping through the opening, hair like moonlight, silver white stirring in wind that touched nothing else in that sacred space. Alaric. 3 years. 3 years of silence. 3 years of absence that had nearly killed her. And now he was here. Real. Devastating. Burning with an intensity that made her wedding dress feel like paper, made her vows feel like lies written in disappearing ink. I have an objection. His voice carried, not loud, but absolute. The kind of voice that demanded attention. Commanded it. Gasps rippled through the guests. Morgause half rose from her seat. Ondine's face twisted with fury. Thorne's hand tightened on Lyra's wrist, too hard, possessive. Alaric stepped into the cathedral. Each footfall echoed, measured, purposeful, inevitable. He wore black. Expensive suit tailored to his lean, powerful frame with the precision of a weapon. He looked like sin and salvation wrapped in the same devastating package. And his eyes never left Lyra's face. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process the impossible fact of him standing there after 3 years of nothing. Sir, the priest stammered, this is highly irregular. If you have legitimate cause to halt these proceedings, my cause is this. Alaric's gaze burned into Lyra. She is mine. She has always been mine. And I was a fool to think I could walk away from what we are to each other. The cathedral erupted. Morgause's voice cut through. Security, remove this man. He's delusional. Dangerous. Who the hell are you? Thorne demanded, stepping in front of Lyra like she was property he needed to protect. Alaric smiled. Cold. Dangerous. I am Alaric Nightshade, Vampire King of the Eastern Territories. And that woman you're trying to marry belongs to me. Silence. Absolute. Then chaos. Some guests fled, others froze. A few pulled out phones. Thorne laughed sharp and disbelieving. Vampire, you're insane. My bunda. Alaric moved, too fast to track with human eyes. One moment at the door, the next standing 3 feet from Thorne. No steps in between, just impossible speed. Thorne stumbled back, face draining of color. What are you, he whispered. I told you, vampire. 340 years old, ruler of more territory than you can imagine, and currently very, very displeased that you're touching what's mine. Lyra isn't yours, Morgause spat, finding her voice. She signed a contract, legal and binding. She agreed to marry Thorne, to bear a child for my daughter. You have no claim. No claim. Alaric's laugh was arctic. I have every claim. 3 years ago I loved her. She loved me. We were bonded in every way that matters. Then why did you leave? The words ripped out of Lyra before she could stop them. Raw. Wounded. 3 years of agony concentrated into 4 words. Alaric turned to her, his expression cracked. Pain flooded through. Because I was terrified. Of what? Of this. He gestured at himself. What I am. What loving me would cost you, the ancient council, the governing body of all vampires. They tested me. They wanted to know if I was weak. If my feelings for a human would compromise my ability to rule. His jaw tightened. They gave me a choice. Walk away from you, prove my loyalty to our kind, or they would eliminate you as a threat. I couldn't let them hurt you. So I left. I disappeared. I made them believe I'd chosen power over love. And now, Lyra's voice broke. Now I've spent 3 years in hell. 3 years proving myself to them while secretly investigating you, learning everything. And I discovered something they needed to hear. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the cool air around him, see the silver fire in his eyes. Your blood, Lyra. Do you know what it is? She shook her head mute. When we were together, you cut yourself once. Cooking. Small accident. I tasted your blood when I bandaged the wound. It healed me in ways that shouldn't be possible. I've been investigating ever since. Testing, researching, and I found the answer. Alaric's voice dropped. Reverend, you carry the last progenitor gene. 1 in 10 million humans has it. Your blood can create vampires stronger than any in existence. You're not defective, Lyra. You're priceless. Worth $50 billion in the supernatural market. Worth kingdoms. Worth everything. The cathedral went silent. Morgause's face transformed. Shock, greed, calculation. 50 billion, she whispered. And you were selling her for 10 million in debt relief, Alaric said softly. Dangerously. You had treasure and treated it like trash. He turned back to Lyra. I came here to claim you, to offer you a choice I should have given you 3 years ago. Come with me, enter my world fully. Be my equal, my partner, my queen. She's promised to me. Thorn grabbed for Lyra's arm. Alaric caught his wrist. Effortless, unbreakable. Touch her again and I'll break every bone in your hand. Something in his voice promised he meant it. Thorn released her, stepped back. Alaric looked at Lyra, just her, like nothing else in the cathedral existed. I love you, he said. I loved you 3 years ago. I love you now. I will love you 300 years from now, if you give me the chance. I left to protect you. I'm back because I can't exist without you. The council finally understands. You're not a threat. You're salvation. Tears streamed down Lyra's face. 3 years. 3 years of thinking she wasn't enough. That she'd been abandoned because she was lacking. Broken. Wrong. You left me, she whispered. I know, and I will spend eternity making that up to you if you let me. You didn't say goodbye. Because if I'd seen you one more time, I couldn't have walked away. Even to save your life. I grieved you. I grieved myself. Every day without you was death. Morgause stood face purple with rage. This is insane, Lyra. You have a contract. Legal obligations. You can't just... Alaric pulled something from his jacket. Papers. He handed them to the priest who fumbled, confused. Payment in full for the Ashwood family debts. $10 million. Wired as of 15 minutes ago. Check your accounts. Morgause grabbed her phone, typed frantically. Her face went white. The money's there, she breathed. The debt is paid, Alaric said. Lyra is free. No obligations, no contracts, nothing binding her to any of you. He extended his hand to Lyra. So I'll ask again. Come with me. Choose the life you want, not the one they're forcing on you. Lyra looked at that hand, cool skin, long fingers, strength and gentleness in equal measure. She looked at Thorn, at Morgause, at Undine's fury, at the life they'd planned for her, servant, incubator, invisible, dead. She looked at Alaric, at the impossible love that had torn her apart when it left, at the man who had walked through 3 years of hell to come back for her, at the choice he was offering. Freedom, truth, forever. Lyra took his hand. The electricity was instant. The same shock she'd felt 3 years ago in an art gallery. Soul recognition, destiny, whatever name you gave it, it was real. I choose you, she whispered. Alaric's smile was sun breaking through storm clouds. Then let's go home. He swept her into his arms, effortless, like she weighed nothing. Wait, Morgause shrieked. You can't just take her. That is kidnapping. I paid your debts, Alaric said coldly. I freed her from your contracts. She's choosing to leave. If you try to stop us, I will destroy you. Financially, socially, completely. Do you understand? Morgause's mouth opened. Closed. No words came. Alaric carried Lyra down the aisle, past gasping guests, past Undine's rage, past Thorn's disbelief, out into the storm. Rain soaked through her wedding dress instantly, plastered Alaric's silver hair to his face. He looked wild, dangerous, more beautiful than anything had a right to be. A car waited at the curb. Black, sleek, expensive. He settled her into the passenger seat, moved around to the driver's side with impossible speed. "Are you sure?" he asked before starting the engine. Vulnerable, afraid of her answer. "I'm sure. This changes everything. My world is dangerous, dark. There are things you'll have to accept, choices you'll have to make." "I know." "And you still want this?" Lyra looked at him. This impossible, beautiful, deadly creature who had loved her enough to walk away and loved her enough to come back. "I've wanted this since the moment we met. I just forgot for a while. But I remember now." Alaric kissed her. Desperate, reverent. 3 years of longing concentrated into that single point of contact. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "I will spend eternity making sure you never regret this. Then take me home." He started the car. They drove into the storm, leaving Lyra's old life behind like a shed skin. The city passed in a blur of gray and gold. Rain-streaked windows, lightning fracturing the sky. Lyra watched it all, feeling like she was seeing clearly for the first time in 3 years. Alaric's home was more than a house. A mansion perched on a hillside overlooking the city. Modern lines, dark glass. Beautiful and cold and perfectly him. He led her inside. The space opened around them. Soaring ceilings, minimalist furniture, art that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. But it felt empty, lonely. A shelter, not a home. "I've been alone a long time," Alaric said, reading her expression. "I had lovers, companions, but never connection, never what we had, never love." He turned to her, and in the fading light she could see him clearly. The subtle signs of otherness. The way his pupils dilated too quickly. The fluid grace that was slightly too smooth to be human. The way shadows seemed to cling to him. "Show me," Lyra said. "Show me everything you are." "What if you can't accept it?" "Then we'll deal with that. But I'm tired of half-truths. If we're doing this, we do it honestly." Something shifted in Alaric's expression. Relief, love, determination. "All right," he showed her. His eyes bled to pure silver, inhuman, ancient. His canines elongated into fangs sharp and deadly. His movements became predatory fluid as he circled her slowly, letting her see the monster beneath the man. "This is what I am," he said, voice deeper, rougher. "This is the creature that has killed to survive, that has lived by taking life from others. This is the darkness that wanted to possess you, keep you forever." Lyra stood her ground, heart racing but feet planted. She studied him, this beautiful, terrible thing that loved her. And she felt no fear, only understanding, acceptance, the rightness of it settling into her bones. "I see you," she said, "all of you, and I'm not afraid." Alaric's eyes returned to gray, his fangs retracted, but the intensity remained. "How can you not be afraid?" "Because I know you, the man who talked to me about art for 3 hours, who brought me coffee every morning exactly how I liked it, who held me during thunderstorms, who looked at me like I was the only miracle in a world that had shown him every wonder." She stepped closer. "The vampire is part of you. It's not all you are." Alaric made a sound between a laugh and a sob. He crossed to her in a blur and pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "You have no idea what it means to hear you say that." They stood like that for a long time. Rain against windows, thunder rolling away. Two souls that had found each other against impossible odds, refusing to let go again. Finally, Alaric pulled back enough to look at her. "There's something you need to understand about what happens next." "Tell me." "My world has rules, politics. The ancient council governs all vampires. They've accepted you in theory, but they'll want to test you, verify what you are." "What I am." "The progenitor gene. It's real, Lyra, and it means you have a choice ahead of you." His jaw tightened. "You can stay human, live a normal lifespan. I'll protect you every day you have. Or you can transform. Become vampire. Join me in immortality." Lyra's breath caught. Transform. It's a 3-day process, painful, dangerous. Not everyone survives. And there's no going back once it's done. You'd become like me. Need blood to survive. Never see another sunrise. Your entire relationship with the world would change. Would I lose myself? No, you'd still be you. Just more. Stronger. Faster. Immortal. But the hunger is always there. The need for blood. It takes discipline to control. Lyra processed this. Immortality. Forever. With him or a human lifetime. Decades. watching him stay young while she aged, dying while he continued. How long do I have to decide? As long as you need. But Lyra already knew her answer. She'd known it from the moment she took his hand in that cathedral. I want to transform. Alaric's eyes widened. Lyra, you don't have to decide now. You can think about, I don't need to think. I've spent 3 years half alive, going through motions, existing instead of living. You're offering me forever, real life, with you. Why would I choose anything else? It's not romantic, Lyra. It's painful, terrifying. You'll die and be reborn. Your humanity will transform into something new. She cupped his face. I'm not afraid. I trust you. I choose this. I choose you. Forever. Alaric searched her face, looking for doubt. Hesitation. Finding only certainty. When poem, now, tonight, before I can think too much, before fear has time to root. The council will want to observe, to make sure the process works correctly, that your progenitor gene activates properly. Then let them watch. I don't care. As long as you're with me. Something broke in Alaric's expression. Joy, relief, overwhelming love. You're sure, I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed her then, soft, reverent, promise and prayer combined. Then we'll do this together. I'll be with you every moment, every second of pain. You won't be alone. I know. Alaric made calls. Rapid, authoritative, setting things in motion. Within an hour, his home filled with vampires. Ravenna Thorne arrived first. 500 years old, she looked 30 with dark hair and darker eyes. Alaric's most trusted advisor. So this is the one, Ravenna said, studying Lyra, the last progenitor. This is Lyra, Alaric corrected, voice sharp. My partner, soon to be my equal. Ravenna smiled. Good, it's about time you found someone who could stand beside you instead of behind you. Others came, council observers, witnesses, the room filled with immortals, all there to watch Lyra transform from human to vampire, from mortal to forever. Alaric led her to his bedroom. Massive bed, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. Last chance, he said. We can stop this. Wait, you can... Lyra kissed him, silencing doubt. I'm ready. Then let's begin. He bit his wrist, blood welled dark and rich. Drink, he said. 3 mouthfuls, no more, no less. Lyra pressed her lips to the wound. His blood tasted like copper and moonlight and something indefinable. Power, ancient and overwhelming. She swallowed once, twice, 3 times. Fire exploded through her veins. Alaric caught her as she collapsed, cradling her against his chest. I've got you, he murmured. I'm here. I'm not leaving. The pain was instant, absolute, like her blood was boiling, like every cell in her body was simultaneously dying and being reborn. She screamed. Alaric held her through it, murmuring words she couldn't understand, his cool hands on her burning skin. This was death. This was transformation. This was the beginning of forever. And as consciousness spiraled away, as her human heart gave its final beats, Lyra's last thought was simple. Worth it. All of it. For this. For him. For the eternity that came next, the transformation had begun. 3 days in hell. That's what transformation felt like. 3 days of dying by inches while something ancient and hungry crawled through Lyra's veins, rewriting everything she was into something new. Something immortal. The first day was fire. Her human blood burned, boiled, every cell screaming as Alaric's vampire essence invaded, conquered, transformed. She thrashed on the bed sheets, soaked with sweat and something darker. Her heart raced, trying to outrun death. Failing, Alaric never left. His cool hands on her burning skin, his voice low and constant, anchoring her to reality when pain tried to tear her away. I'm here, you're not alone. Breathe through it. Just breathe. But breathing hurt. Everything hurt. Lyra screamed until her voice shredded, until there was nothing left but raw agony and the distant, terrible knowledge that this was only the beginning. The second day brought visions. Reality fractured. Time became fluid. Lyra found herself in places that couldn't exist, watching events that happened centuries before she was born. She saw forests under alien stars, castles burning, battles fought with fangs and fury. She saw vampires rising from death, newly born, eyes wild with hunger and confusion. And she saw her, Morgana, the first vampire, the progenitor, standing on a battlefield littered with bodies both human and immortal. She looked like Lyra, same bone structure, same eyes, like looking into a mirror that reflected back through 1,000 years. You carry my blood, Morgana said. Her voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. The last of our line, the final daughter. I don't understand, Lyra gasped. You will, when the rift opens, when darkness comes pouring through. You will understand what you are, what you must do. What rift? What are you talking about? But Morgana was fading, dissolving like smoke. The last daughter seals the rift. That is the prophecy. That is your burden, your gift, your curse. Wait, I don't, gone. Lyra fell back into her body, into pain, into transformation that wouldn't stop, wouldn't end, wouldn't show mercy. Alaric was there, always there. What did you see? He asked, wiping blood-tinged sweat from her forehead. Morgana, the progenitor. She said something about a rift, a prophecy. His face went still. We'll discuss it after, when you're whole again. For now, just focus on surviving. I'm trying. I know, you're doing beautifully. The third day was death. Her human heart, exhausted from 3 days of fighting, began to slow. Beat, beat, pause, beat, longer pause. This was it, the moment between human and vampire, between mortality and forever. Lyra felt herself slipping away, floating, untethered from flesh. For a moment she stood outside her body, saw herself on the bed, pale as death, chest barely rising. Saw Alaric gripping her hand, jaw tight, fighting not to show the fear consuming him. Saw Ravenna and other vampires watching with clinical detachment. Saw the thread connecting her to life growing thinner. Thinner, snapping. Her heart stopped. Complete silence. Then in the void something stirred. New life, vampire life, ancient and powerful and utterly alien. It flooded through her dead veins, seized her silent heart, forced it to beat again but differently. Slower, stronger, immortal. Lyra's eyes opened. The world exploded into sensation. Everything was sharper, colors more vivid. She could hear heartbeats from 3 rooms away, smell the rain that had started falling outside, feel the individual threads in the sheets beneath her. And she was hungry, not for food, for blood. The scent hit her like a physical blow, copper and salt and life. Coming from everywhere, from the vampires in the room, from the humans somewhere in the house. Her fangs descended, instinct, hunger, need. Alaric was in front of her, instantly blocking the others from view. Look at me, he commanded, just at me. Lyra's eyes locked on his, gray like storm clouds, steady, safe. The hunger is normal, expected, but you control it, not the other way around. Breathe. I can't breathe, I don't need to breathe. You do, differently but you do, slow, steady, feel the hunger, acknowledge it, then set it aside. It should have been impossible. The need for blood was overwhelming, primal drowning. But Alaric's voice cut through, his presence, his absolute certainty that she could do this. Lyra breathed, once, twice, 3 times. The hunger receded, didn't disappear, never would. But it became manageable, controllable. Good, Alaric said, very good. He helped her sit up. Her body moved differently, fluid, powerful, like she could tear through steel if she wanted. How do you feel? Lyra took inventory. No pain, no weakness, just strength, clarity, and something else. Power. It hummed beneath her skin, in her blood, something beyond normal vampire abilities. Different, she said. Her voice was different too, richer, resonant. I feel alive, more alive than I ever was as a human. Ravenna stepped forward, eyes gleaming with interest. The transformation was successful, but there's something unusual. Can you feel it? The power beneath your skin. Lyra nodded. That's the progenitor gene activating. You're not just vampire Lyra. You're something more, something we haven't seen in 1,000 years. Show us, Alaric said quietly. Show you whatever you're feeling, whatever wants to come out. Lyra closed her eyes, reached for the power humming inside her. It responded instantly. Her eyes opened, but they weren't gray anymore. They were silver, pure molten silver. The water in a glass across the room began to vibrate, then rise, defying gravity, forming shapes in the air. Spheres, spirals, beautiful and impossible. Telekinesis, Ravenna breathed. She has telekinesis. But there was more. Lyra could feel the blood in every creature in the room, feel it moving, pulsing, and she knew instinctively that she could control it if she wanted. Make it stop, make it flow faster, command it like her own. She released the power. The water splashed back into the glass. What am I? She whispered. You're the last progenitor, Alaric said. Morgana's heir. And you have abilities no vampire has possessed in a millennium. He smiled fierce and proud. You're extraordinary. Before Lyra could respond, the door burst open. A vampire she didn't recognize. Male. Young-looking but ancient in the eyes. My king, the Eastern faction has sent a challenge. Seraphina Drake demands audience. She questions the new queen's legitimacy. Alaric's expression went cold. Dangerous. Tell Seraphina she will get her audience tomorrow night, and she will regret demanding it. The messenger fled. Ravenna sighed. Seraphina has been waiting for an opportunity like this. A newly turned vampire as queen, she'll use it to challenge your authority. Let her try. Alaric, Lyra said carefully, who is Seraphina Drake, the leader of the Eastern vampire faction? 420 years old. Powerful. Ambitious. She's been angling to expand her territory for decades. Your transformation, your position as my queen gives her an excuse to challenge me. How Boshaki, by challenging you. If she can prove you're unworthy, weak, incapable of standing beside me, she undermines my judgment. My authority opens the door for her to claim more power. So what do we do? Alaric's smile was sharp, predatory. Prove her wrong. The next evening, Lyra woke to her first real vampire sunset. No, not sunset. She could feel the sun still above the horizon, weak, fading. But there, and it didn't hurt. She went to the window, drew back the curtain. Late afternoon light spilled across her skin. Warm, not burning, not painful, just warm. Impossible, Ravenna said from the doorway. New vampires can't tolerate any sunlight. Even ancient ones avoid it. But you're standing in direct sun, and you're not even uncomfortable. The progenitor abilities, Alaric said, appearing beside Ravenna. Daywalking. It's in the old text. Morgana could walk in full daylight. You've inherited that. Lyra turned from the window. What else did I inherit? We're about to find out. They descended to the mansion's lower level, a training room, massive, equipped with weapons and equipment designed to withstand vampire strength. Ravenna circled Lyra, assessing. Combat training first, then feeding, then politics. You have less than a day before you face Seraphina. We need you ready. What will she do? Demand you prove yourself, probably through combat. She'll choose a champion. You'll fight. Winner establishes dominance. I've never fought in my life. Then you'll learn fast. You have vampire speed and strength now, plus progenitor powers. Use them. The next hours blurred together. Ravenna taught her to move, to strike, to defend. Her vampire body responded instantly perfectly, like it had been training for centuries. Good, Ravenna said after Lyra blocked a combination that would have killed her human self. You're a natural, but technique only gets you so far. You need to learn to use your gifts. Like the telekinesis, exactly. In combat, you can manipulate weapons, disarm opponents, control the battlefield. But you need practice, precision. Try moving that blade. She pointed to a sword mounted on the wall. Lyra focused, reached for the power inside her. The sword trembled, rose, floated toward her. Now make it strike the target. The blade spun through the air faster, until it buried itself in the practice dummy across the room. Excellent. Again, faster this time. They trained until Lyra could control multiple objects simultaneously. Until she could sense the blood in living things and use it to track movement. Until her body moved like water, like wind, like death itself. Then came feeding. Alaric brought her to a private room. A human waited there. Male, mid-20s, calm. This is Marcus, Alaric said, a willing donor. He understands what we are, what we need. Lyra's hunger roared to life. 3 days of transformation, hours of combat training. Her body demanded fuel, but she hesitated. I don't want to hurt him. You won't, Alaric said gently. I'll show you, watch. He approached Marcus, spoke to him quietly, received permission, then bit controlled and precise at the junction of neck and shoulder. Marcus's eyes fluttered. Not pain, something else. Pleasure. The vampire bite released endorphins, made the feeding euphoric for both parties. Alaric drank, careful, measured, then withdrew, licking the wound closed. It sealed instantly. Your turn. Lyra approached Marcus, her fangs extended fully, instinct guiding her. May I, she asked. Yes, she bit. Blood flooded her mouth, rich, warm, life itself distilled into liquid form. The hunger sang, demanded more, all of it, every drop. but Alaric's hand on her shoulder anchored her. Enough! Pull back! It was the hardest thing she'd ever done. Harder than the transformation. Harder than anything. But she did it. Withdrew. Sealed the wound. Stepped back. Marcus smiled, dazed and happy. Thank you, Lyra whispered. Anytime, my queen. My queen, the title felt surreal. That night, the Eastern faction arrived. Seraphina Drake swept into Alaric's mansion like she owned it. 420 years of existence showed in her eyes. Ancient, calculating, dangerous. She was beautiful. Dark hair, pale skin, red lips. The kind of beauty that was weaponized, used to deceive and destroy. Behind her came her entourage. Vampires ranging from decades to centuries old. And at her right hand, a male vampire who radiated violence. Kael Voss, her champion. Alaric, Seraphina purred. How generous of you to receive me. Seraphina, you demanded audience. Here it is. Her eyes slid to Lyra, dismissive, contemptuous. So this is the human you've elevated to queen. How quaint. Lyra is no longer human. Then Alaric said, voice like ice. She is vampire, progenitor bloodline, and my equal in all things. We'll see about that. Seraphina circled Lyra slowly. Predator assessing prey. You returned 3 days ago. You have no experience, no training, no understanding of our world and or its complexities. And yet you presume to stand beside the vampire king as his queen. I presume nothing, Lyra said quietly. I stand where I'm meant to stand. Meant by whose authority? By mine, Alaric said, and the ancient council has approved. The council approved the transformation, not the elevation. There's a difference. Seraphina stopped in front of Lyra, close, invasive. I challenge your legitimacy, your worthiness, your right to stand beside our king. On what grounds? On the grounds that you are weak, untested, a liability we cannot afford. Prove yourself or step aside. How do you suggest I prove myself? Seraphina smiled, sharp, cruel. Combat, you versus my champion Kael Voss, 280 years of battle experience, master of 7 martial arts, undefeated in the arena for a century. She gestured to the male vampire beside her. He was large, muscular, scarred. He looked at Lyra like she was already dead. If you defeat him, I'll acknowledge your position. If he defeats you, you abdicate. Leave Alaric. Return to the human world where you belong. Alaric stepped forward, fury radiating from him. Absolutely not. I accept, Lyra said. Silence. Alaric turned to her, expression torn between pride and terror. Lyra, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. She's right. I need to prove myself, not just to her, to the entire vampire world. I can't hide behind you. I have to show them I deserve to stand at your side. You could be hurt, killed. I won't be. How do you know? Lyra smiled, felt the power humming beneath her skin, the progenitor abilities, the strength, the certainty. Because I'm not the weak human she thinks I am. I'm something else, something she doesn't understand. And I'm going to show her exactly what that means. Seraphina laughed. Confident. I like that. Makes the fall more satisfying. The arena. Tomorrow night, the entire court will witness. Prepare yourself, little queen. Kael doesn't lose. She swept out, entourage following. The mansion fell silent. Alaric turned to Lyra. You didn't have to accept. Yes, I did. She's setting you up. There will be more than just the fight. Seraphina doesn't play fair. Then neither will I. Ravenna appeared from the shadows. She's right, Alaric. This was always going to happen. Better to face it now on our terms than let Seraphina choose the time and place later. I don't like it. You don't have to like it. You just have to trust me, Lyra said. Alaric pulled her close. I do trust you. I'm just terrified of losing you again. You won't. I survived transformation. I'll survive this. The next evening they gathered in the arena, a massive underground space, stone walls, ancient, torches burning with blue flame. Hundreds of vampires filled the seats. The entire supernatural community come to watch the new queen either prove herself or fall. Lyra stood in the center. The sandy floor beneath her feet had absorbed centuries of blood. She could smell it, taste it in the air. Kael entered from the opposite side, shirtless, displaying scars that crossed his chest and back. Evidence of battles survived. He smiled at her. All teeth. Nothing personal, little queen. But I've never lost a fight. I'm not starting now. Lyra didn't respond. Just watched. Waited. Serafina stood in a box above the arena watching with barely concealed glee. Alaric stood opposite, every line of his body tense, ready to intervene if necessary. Ravenna acted as referee. Combat until submission or unconsciousness. No killing blows. No interference. Begin. KO moved. Fast. Faster than Lyra expected even with vampire speed. He was on her in a heartbeat fist aimed at her face. Lyra dodged. Barely. Felt the wind of his strike as it passed. She countered. Strike to his ribs. He blocked. They exchanged blows. Testing. Probing. KO was good. Centuries of experience showed in every movement, every defense, every attack precisely calculated. But Lyra had something he didn't. Progenitor powers. She reached out with her mind, felt the weapons mounted on the arena walls. Swords, spears, chains. One sword lifted, flew across the arena. Kale saw it coming, dodged, but it was a distraction. While he avoided the blade, Lyra struck. Hard, fast, caught him in the solar plexus. He grunted, stumbled back. First point to her. The crowd murmured, surprised. Kale's expression shifted, from amused to serious. So you have tricks. Good. This might actually be interesting. He attacked again. No holding back now, a flurry of strikes, kicks, grapples. Lyra defended, her training with Ravenna paying off. But KO was relentless, overwhelming. He caught her. Threw her across the arena. Lyra hit the stone wall. Hard. Felt ribs crack. Pain exploded through her chest, but it was already healing. Vampire regeneration. She pushed off the wall, flipped, landed in a crouch. KL charged, Lyra focused, felt the blood in his body, felt it flowing. She reached for it. The blood responded. KL froze. Mid-stride, his eyes widened in shock and horror. What? Lyra was controlling his blood, making it sluggish, heavy, not enough to kill, just enough to slow him down. She released the hold, didn't want to cross into cruelty. But in that moment of hesitation, of distraction, she struck. Fast, precise. Sweep his legs. He went down, Lyra on top of him, fangs at his throat. Victory position. The crowd went silent, then erupted in sound, shock, disbelief, awe. Lyra had won. She stood, offered Kale her hand. He stared at it for a long moment, then took it, let her pull him up. You fight with honor, he said quietly, and power I've never seen. You are worthy, my queen. He knelt. The gesture rippled through the arena. One by one, vampires began to kneel, acknowledging her, accepting her. Lyra looked at Serafina. The Eastern faction leader's face was twisted with rage. Interference, she shouted. Foul play. She used illegal. She used progenitor abilities. Ravenna cut her off. Ancient powers inherent to her bloodline. Perfectly legal. The match was fair. This isn't over, Serafina hissed. Yes, Alaric said, voice cutting through the noise. It is. Lyra has proven herself. The challenge is satisfied. Acknowledge her as queen or leave my territory. Serafina's eyes burned with hatred, but she was outnumbered, outmaneuvered. She bowed, shallow, mocking. My queen. Then she turned and left her remaining followers trailing behind. Alaric was at Lyra's side instantly, checking her for injuries. You were magnificent. I was terrified. You didn't show it. Lyra laughed, exhausted, exhilarated. She had done it, proven herself in front of the entire vampire court. She was queen, truly. The celebration afterward was subdued. Politics and careful alliances being formed. Lyra met dozens of vampires, learned names, territories, alliances, the complex web of supernatural society. It was overwhelming, but Ravenna stayed close, guiding, translating the subtext. That one wants trade agreements. That one is testing to see if you're accessible. That one is genuinely pleased to meet you. Lyra absorbed it all, cataloged, analyzed. Being queen wasn't just about power. It was about strategy, diplomacy, reading people. She could do this. Hours later, alone with Alaric, Lyra finally allowed herself to relax. They stood on his balcony. The city spread below them, dawn approaching. How do you feel, Alaric asked. Like I've lived a lifetime in 4 days. You have. A vampire lifetime. Transformation, combat, politics. You've handled it better than most who've had centuries to adjust. I had good teachers. You had natural talent. I just helped you find it. Lyra leaned against him, his cool body against hers. What happens now? Now you settle into your role, learn, grow, rule beside me. It sounds simple when you say it like that. It won't be simple, but we'll face it together. A comfortable silence fell. Then Alaric tensed. What? Lyra asked. Messenger, coming fast. Moments later, a vampire appeared on the balcony. Young, panicked. My king, my queen. The ancient council demands immediate audience. Emergency session. They say it's urgent. What's the emergency? The messenger swallowed hard. The rift, the prophecy Morgana spoke of. It's real, and it's opening. In 48 hours, a portal to the chaos dimension will tear through reality, and they say only the last progenitor can seal it. The messenger looked at Lyra. Only you can save us, or we all die, vampire and human alike. Lyra's blood went cold. The rift, Morgana's warning during transformation. It wasn't just vision, it was prophecy, and now it was coming true. She looked at Alaric, saw fear and determination warring in his expression. How long do we have? 48 hours. Then the rift opens fully, and whatever's on the other side comes through. Lyra straightened, squared her shoulders. She had been vampire for 4 days, queen for 1. And now the fate of both worlds rested on her shoulders. Then we have work to do, she said quietly. Alaric took her hand. Together. Together. The celebration was over. The real battle was about to begin. 48 hours until the end of the world. Lyra stood in the ancient council chamber surrounded by vampires who had walked the earth for millennia. Their faces carved from time itself, eyes holding centuries of knowledge and power. And they were all looking at her like she was their last hope. The chamber was deep underground, older than any human civilization. Stone walls covered in symbols that predated written language. A massive circular table carved from obsidian, 12 seats, 12 council members, the oldest vampires in existence. At the head sat Cassius Valen, 5,000 years old, the first vampire after Morgana herself. His face was ageless, but his eyes were ancient beyond comprehension. Lyra Ashwood, he said, his voice resonated like stones grinding together. The last progenitor, Morgana's final heir. Welcome. Lyra inclined her head, respectful but not subservient. Alaric stood at her right, protective, tense. You summoned us, Alaric said. Speak plainly. What is the rift? Cassius gestured. The air above the table shimmered. An image formed, three-dimensional, holographic, a tear in reality itself, jagged, bleeding darkness, and through it shapes moving. Terrible shapes. 1,000 years ago, Morgana sealed a portal between our world and the chaos dimension, a realm of pure entropy, creatures that exist only to consume, destroy, unmake reality. The image shifted, showed Morgana powerful and terrible blood magic swirling around her as she forced the portal closed. She used her progenitor blood to create the seal, but it was never permanent. Only her bloodline could renew it. Every 1,000 years, the seal weakens, opens slightly. Must be renewed. Cassius looked at Lyra. You are the last of her line, the only one who can seal the rift before it opens completely. How? Lyra asked. Blood magic. Progenitor power channeled through ancient ritual. You must go to the rift's location. Speak the words. Let your blood flow into the seal. Renew it for another millennium. And if I don't, the image changed, showed chaos pouring through, creatures made of shadow and teeth, cities burning, screams, death on a scale incomprehensible. Then both worlds end, vampire and human, all life, everything. Silence. Lyra felt the weight of it crushing down. 4 days ago she was a waitress. Nobody. Invisible. Now the fate of 2 worlds rested on her shoulders. I'll do it, she said. No hesitation. Alaric's hand found hers, squeezed. Where is the rift? He asked. Downtown, the old cathedral, beneath it, the same place where you interrupted her wedding. Irony so sharp it cut. When 48 hours, midnight, when the barrier is thinnest, when the seal is most vulnerable. We'll be ready, Lyra said. There's more. Cassius's expression darkened. The ritual requires sacrifice, not death, but transformation. You will become the warden, tied to the rift forever, responsible for monitoring it, maintaining the seal. You'll carry that burden for eternity. A prison, Cheyenne, Alaric said, voice like ice. A purpose, Cassius corrected. All power has a price. Lyra looked at Alaric, saw the fear, the pain, the desperate need to find another way. But there wasn't one. This was her destiny, her burden, her gift. I accept, she said. The council session ended. Vampires dispersed to prepare for what came next. Lyra and Alaric returned to the mansion. Neither spoke. Too much to say, no words adequate. In his study, Alaric finally broke. I just got you back. I can't lose you to this. To being chained to some dimensional prison for eternity. You're not losing me. I'll still be here. Still be with you, just with responsibilities. It's not the same. No, it's better. I'll have purpose. Meaning, I won't just be queen, I'll be protector. Guardian. The thing standing between the world and annihilation. Alaric pulled her close. Desperate. I should have left you alone. 3 years ago, I should have stayed gone. Then you'd be human, safe, free. I'd be miserable, half alive, going through motions. You gave me real life, Alaric. Real love, real purpose. Don't regret that. I regret that it's cost you so much. It hasn't cost me anything. It's given me everything. She kissed him. Fierce, final, promise and prayer. They had 48 hours. Ravenna taught Lyra the ancient words, the ritual, the exact way to channel progenitor power through blood magic. Precision matters, Ravenna said. One mistake and the seal fails. Or worse, you're consumed by the rift. No pressure, none at all. The words were complex, ancient. Each syllable carried weight, power, meaning that transcended language. Lyra practiced until her throat was raw, until she could speak them in her sleep, until they became part of her. Meanwhile, Alaric gathered his forces, every vampire loyal to him, every ally, every warrior, because they all knew the truth. Serafina would strike. She had been humiliated. Her champion defeated. Her challenge failed. She would want revenge. And the rift opening presented the perfect opportunity. Chaos, distraction, a chance to eliminate Lyra while she was vulnerable during the ritual. She'll come, Alaric said. War Council gathered, Ravenna, Kael, others. The question is how and when. During the ritual, Ravenna said, when Lyra is most exposed, most vulnerable. Then we fortify the cathedral, guards at every entrance, perimeter secure, nothing gets through. And if Serafina brings an army, then we destroy an army. Lyra could feel the rift now, even from a distance, a wrongness in reality, a tearing, growing stronger by the hour. It pulled at her, called to her, recognized her blood. She stood on Alaric's balcony staring toward downtown where the cathedral waited. Can you sense it? Alaric asked, joining her. Yes, it's like a wound in the world, getting bigger, bleeding. Are you afraid? Terrified, but also ready. This is what I was meant for, everything that happened, everything that brought me here. It was for this. Alaric wrapped his arms around her from behind. You're remarkable. You know that I'm just trying not to let everyone down. You couldn't, not if you tried. They stood in silence, watching the city, knowing that in 24 hours everything could end or be saved. The mansion was organized chaos, vampires coming and going, weapons being distributed, strategies being planned. Lyra retreated to the library, needed quiet, needed to center herself. She was reading the ancient text one more time when the door opened. Not Alaric, not Ravenna, Thorn Galveston, her almost husband, the man she'd left at the altar. He looked terrible, gaunt, exhausted, desperate. Lyra, thank God, you need to come with me. Now. Thorn, how did you get in here? I have information about Serafina, about a plot, but it's not safe to talk here. Please, trust me, just this once. Something felt wrong, but Thorn's eyes were earnest, afraid. What plot? She's allied with your stepmother, Morgause. They're planning to attack during the ritual, but there's more. Please, I have proof. In my car. Just come look. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. Mistake. The moment she stepped outside, everything went dark. Cloth over her face, soaked in something chemical. Chloroform. She struggled, vampire strength surging, but hands grabbed her. Too many. Vampire hands. Strong, coordinated. The drug pulled her under. Darkness swallowed her whole. Lyra woke in chains, silver chains, burning against her skin, weakening her. She was in a warehouse, abandoned, cold. The rift's wrongness was stronger here, closer. Serafina stood in front of her, smiling, and beside her, looking pleased and vindictive, stood Morgause and Undine. Hello, stepdaughter, Morgause purred. Surprised. Lyra's mind raced. Thorn had betrayed her, led her into a trap. No. Thorn stood off to the side, bound, beaten, unconscious. He tried to warn you, Serafina said, following Lyra's gaze. Tried to tell you about our alliance. We couldn't have that. So we used him as bait, modified the message. You came running. Predictable. Rage flooded through Lyra, hot, consuming. Why? Why? Serafina laughed. Because you humiliated me, defeated my champion, made me look weak. I can't let that stand. And because you're worth $50 billion, Morgause added, did you think I'd forgotten your precious progenitor blood? Serafina has buyers, people who want to create super vampires. Your blood is the key. We drain you, Serafina explained. Take every drop. Use it to create an army of progenitor vampires. Unstoppable. And when the rift opens, when chaos comes pouring through, we'll be the only ones strong enough to survive, to rule what's left. You'll kill everyone, Lyra said. Both worlds. Acceptable losses. Undine stepped closer, her face twisted with jealousy and hate. You were always special. Always better. Even when we treated you like garbage, you had something. That gene, that power. It should have been mine. I'm the pretty one, the charming one. But you got the gift. So we're taking it, Morgause finished. Serafina pulled out a knife. Silver, etched with symbols. This will hurt, a lot. But don't worry, you won't live long enough to care. She approached Lyra, raised the knife. The warehouse door exploded inward. Alaric stood silhouetted in the opening, and behind him, an army, Ravenna, Kael, every vampire loyal to the king. His eyes found Lyra, relief and fury warring in his expression. Then his gaze shifted to Serafina. Let her go. Each word was death, promise, prophecy. Serafina smiled, gestured. Her own forces emerged from shadows, dozens of vampires armed, ready. I don't think so. She's mine now. And if you want her back, you'll have to go through all of us. Gladly. War erupted, vampires clashed, fangs and fury, speed and savagery. The warehouse became a battlefield. Alaric fought like a demon, tearing through Serafina's forces, each movement precise, lethal, beautiful and terrible. Ravenna and Kael flanked him, three unstoppable forces carving through enemies, but there were so many, and Lyra was chained, helpless. Serafina stood over her knife raised. If I can't have your blood willingly, I'll take it by force. The blade descended. Lyra reached for her power, progenitor abilities, but the silver chains dampened everything, made her weak. The knife cut, across her arm, blood welled, dark, rich, powerful. Serafina caught it in a vial, greedy. Pain exploded through Lyra's arm. But worse was the rage, the helplessness. She was stronger than this, more than this. The chains couldn't hold her forever. Lyra focused, reached deeper, past the pain, past the silver, into the core of what she was. Progenitor, last of her line. Morgana's heir. Power answered. Pure. Primal. Overwhelming. The chains shattered. Lyra surged to her feet, eyes blazing silver, blood floating around her in droplets responding to her will. Serafina stumbled back. Impossible. The silver should what hold me weaken me. Lyra's voice resonated with power. Ancient. Terrible. I am the last progenitor. Silver is nothing. Chains are nothing. You are nothing. She attacked, fast, furious. Every technique Ravenna taught her combined with raw progenitor power. Serafina defended. Barely. Centuries of experience against days of training. But Lyra had something Serafina didn't. Destiny, purpose, and rage at being used. Sold. Betrayed. She caught Serafina's throat, lifted her off the ground. You made a mistake. You thought I was weak, helpless, something to be exploited. Serafina clawed at Lyra's hand, desperate. You were wrong. Lyra threw her across the warehouse. Serafina hit the wall, hard, crumpled. Morgause and Undine tried to run. Lyra's power lashed out. Telekinesis caught them, held them suspended. Where do you think you're going? Please, Morgause begged. All pretense gone. Just fear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. You sold me, used me, treated me like I was worthless my entire life. And the moment you discovered I had value, you tried to drain me dry. We're family. No, you're strangers who happen to share a house. Family loves, protects, cherishes. You did none of those things. Lyra felt Alaric beside her. The battle finished. Serafina's forces defeated or fled. What do you want to do with them? He asked quietly. Lyra looked at Morgause and Ondine, at the women who had made her childhood misery, her adulthood torture. She could kill them, easily. But that would make her like them. The council will judge them for conspiracy, for attempting to sabotage the ritual, for trying to end the world for profit. Let them face justice publicly. Mercy, Alaric said, after everything they did. Not mercy, better. I want them to live, to see me succeed, to watch me become everything they said I'd never be. Death is escape. Living with their failure is punishment. Alaric's smile was fierce, proud. My queen, a groan from the corner. Thorn, waking, bloodied but alive. Lyra went to him, knelt. You tried to warn me. I'm sorry, I should have been stronger, should have fought harder. You did enough. You survived. That's all that matters. I need to tell you something before, in case I don't get another chance. Tell me what... I'm a vampire hunter, have been for years. I was sent to infiltrate, to find weaknesses, to learn how to destroy your kind. Lyra stiffened. But then I met you, and I saw what they really are. Not monsters, just people, trying to survive. And you, Lyra, you were always kind, even when you were suffering. You deserve everything good in this world. He coughed, blood on his lips. When I heard about the plot, I couldn't let them hurt you. Even if it meant blowing my cover, betraying my order, I had to try to save you. Thorn, the rift, it's opening, I can feel it. You need to go. Now, finish the ritual, save everyone. Come with us. We'll protect you. No, the Hunter organization, they're coming, drawn by the rift, planning to attack vampires during the chaos. I need to stop them, convince them, or die trying. You'll die. Maybe, but it's the right thing to do, the first right thing I've done in years. Lyra looked at this man, this almost husband, this enemy-turned ally. Thank you. Save the world, Lyra. Be the queen you were meant to be. He stood, limp toward the exit. Lyra wanted to stop him, to force him to accept protection. But she understood. This was his choice, his redemption. She let him go, Alaric's hand on her shoulder. We need to move. The rift. Listen. Lyra focused. She could hear it, feel it, reality tearing, screaming. Downtown, the old Gothic building where Lyra was supposed to marry Thorn, where Alaric had crashed through doors and changed everything. Now the ground beneath it split, cracked, glowing with sick purple light. The rift. Opening. Creatures already emerging. Things without names. Shadow-made flesh. Teeth and hunger and wrongness. Alaric's forces fought them, held the line. Barely. The crypt, Ravenna shouted over the noise. The ritual site is in the crypt. They descended, stone stairs worn smooth by centuries. Down, down, and to darkness lit only by the rift's terrible glow. The seal was there, ancient, covered in symbols. Morgana's blood magic preserved for a millennium, and it was breaking. Cracks spreading. Light bleeding through, the chaos dimension pushing, demanding entry. Now, Ravenna urged, before it's too late. Lyra stepped forward, placed her hands on the seal. It burned, freezing and boiling simultaneously. She spoke the words, ancient language, older than recorded history, power words that shaped reality. Her blood welled, not from cuts, from her palms, drawn out by magic, by necessity. It flowed into the seal, silver, glowing. Progenitor blood meeting progenitor magic. The rift screamed, fought, pushed harder. Lyra pushed back. She reached deeper into her power, into the core of what she was. Morgana's heir, the last daughter. And she understood. The seal didn't need death, didn't need sacrifice. It needed transformation. She poured herself into it. Not just blood, essence, power, connection. Became part of the seal. The warden, the guardian standing between worlds. The rift fought. Creatures clawed at the barrier, trying to force through. But Lyra was stronger. She was progenitor. She was queen. She was the daughter of two worlds. And she refused to let either fall. Power exploded outward. Silver light, pure, blinding. The rift sealed. Not just patched, renewed. Stronger than it had been in centuries. The creatures shrieked, pulled back, trapped once more in their dimension. The purple light faded. Silence rushed in. Lyra collapsed. Alaric caught her, cradled her against his chest. Lyra, stay with me. Her eyes opened, still silver, still glowing faintly. I'm here, still here. You did it. The rift is sealed. I can feel it. Inside me. The connection. The responsibility. I'm tied to it now, the warden. Forever. Does it hurt? No, it feels right. Like finding a piece of myself I didn't know was missing. Alaric helped her stand. They climbed back up. Out of the crypt. Above the battle had ended. The creatures that had emerged were defeated. Alaric's forces victorious. The cathedral was damaged. Broken. But standing. And outside the first hints of dawn touched the horizon. We need to report to the council, Alaric said, supporting Lyra's weight. Let them know it's done. Later, Lyra said. First, let's just breathe. They stepped through the ruined cathedral doors, into the cold night air, and Lyra let herself feel it. The weight of what she'd done, what she'd become. Warden, guardian, protector of two worlds, but also exhausted, wounded, needing rest. Come, Alaric said gently. Let's go home. The coronation was unlike anything the vampire world had seen in centuries. The council chamber, packed with vampires from every territory, every faction, every corner of the globe, all gathered to witness Lyra Ashwood's official crowning as Vampire Queen. She stood at the center, wearing a gown of midnight silk, crown of obsidian and silver on her head. The progenitor, the warden, the queen, beside her Alaric, regal, proud. Hers, Cassius performed the ceremony, ancient words, ancient traditions. But before the final blessing there was judgment. Morgause and Undine were brought in, chained, stripped of wealth, of status, of everything. The council had ruled. Exile. To the human world, as servants. They would spend the rest of their lives working, struggling, invisible, everything they had made Lyra's life. Karma, perfect and poetic. Lyra looked at them, saw fear, regret. Too late. You told me I was worthless, she said, voice carrying through the chamber. Defective, broken, something to be used and discarded. Silence. Absolute. You were wrong about everything. I am not worthless. I am priceless. I am not broken. I am powerful. I am not a tool. I am a queen. She gestured. Guards led Morgause and Undine away. To their new lives, their punishment. Lyra didn't watch them go. They didn't deserve her attention anymore. Seraphina's fate had been simpler. Execution. For treason. For attempting to end the world. Alaric had been merciful, made it quick. The threat was ended. The coronation concluded with celebration, music, dancing, vampires from across the world pledging loyalty, acknowledging their new queen. But Lyra's favorite moment came later. Private, intimate. She found Alaric on the balcony, their balcony, overlooking the city. Hiding from your own party, she teased, savoring a moment of peace before returning to the chaos. She joined him, leaned against him, perfect fit. I have news. Good news, I hope. Impossible news. He looked at her, questioning. Lyra smiled, placed his hand on her abdomen. I'm pregnant. Alaric froze. Absolute stillness. That's not possible. Vampires can't. Progenitor vampires can, apparently, very rare. But it's happening. She watched emotions cascade across his face. Shock, disbelief, or overwhelming joy. A child, our child. Half vampire, half progenitor. Something new. Something that's never existed before. Alaric pulled her close, reverently, like she was made of glass and starlight. You've given me everything. Love, purpose, hope, and now this. I don't deserve you. You deserve all of it. You came back for me, saved me, chose me. We deserve each other. They stood together as the sun began to rise. Full daylight, warming Lyra's skin. The progenitor queen, the daywalker, the warden. The woman who had been called worthless and proved the world wrong. They said I was defective, Lyra murmured, that my blood was broken, that I would never be enough. And now I've saved two worlds, sealed the rift, become queen, and I'm carrying a miracle child. She turned to face him fully. I am not defective. I am not broken. I am exactly what I was meant to be. Alaric kissed her, soft, sweet, forever promised in that touch. My queen, my love, my everything. My king, my heart, my home. The sun climbed higher, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink and brilliant blue. Lyra Ashwood stood in its light, no longer afraid, no longer hiding, no longer less than. Queen, warrior, guardian, mother-to-be, priceless, perfect, exactly as she was meant to be. The city stretched below them, both worlds, human and vampire, safe because Lyra had made them so. She thought about the girl she'd been, waitress, servant, invisible. That girl would never have believed this was possible, but she had always been strong, always been worthy, always been enough. She just needed someone to see it. Alaric had seen it, and now the whole world saw it too. What happens next? Lyra Burr asked, watching the sunrise paint the world in new colors. Now we rule, we protect, we live together for eternity. Eternity sounds perfect. It does when I spend it with you. Far below in a cramped apartment, Morgause looked up at the sunrise through a dirty window, her hands raw from scrubbing floors, her back aching from labor she'd never had to do before. She thought of Lyra, standing in that same sunrise, queen, powerful, victorious, everything Morgause had thrown away. The girl she called worthless had gained the world, while Morgause, who thought herself so clever, so superior, had lost everything. Justice, sweet and final. The prophecy was fulfilled. The rift was sealed. The queen was crowned. And Lyra's story, the waitress who became immortal royalty, the underdog who saved two worlds, the girl called defective who proved herself priceless, would be told for millennia. A testament to what happens when you underestimate the wrong person, when you mistake quiet strength for weakness, when you call someone broken who was actually powerful beyond measure. They had called her defective. They were wrong. And they would spend eternity remembering exactly how wrong they were. While Lyra stood in the sunrise, her king beside her, her child growing inside her, the rift bound to her protection, and smiled. Because she had won, not just the battle, everything. And this was only the beginning.